Hello and welcome back to the Fantasy Playmakers. What's up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be running through my start sits at the wide receiver position. So just going through whether or not I'd feel comfortable having, all the fantasy relevant wide receivers in my lineup. While you guys are watching this, if you're enjoying the content, please just do me a huge favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. You guys can ask me any fantasy related questions down below in the comment section and I'll respond to everyone. Also, there's going to be thumbnails down below, so if you guys want to jump around to your specific players, that is totally fine. But let's get it started with the Thursday night football matchup here between the Denver Broncos and the Cleveland Browns. On the Broncos side, I think Courtland Sutton is a locked-in start. Ever since Jerry Jeudy has been out, the man has been going crazy. And then Tim Patrick, the wide receiver 2 there, has been very solid as well. So both of those guys are going to be starts. With the Browns, this team really could end up being a mess on Thursday Night Football. There's a chance they're without Nick Chubb. Kareem Hunt is already out. Baker Mayfield's left shoulder is just totally done, but it looks like he's going to try to tough it out. You would kind of think this may be a situation where they're going to have to throw the ball a lot with their top 2 running backs out, and that may be the case, but it also may just be that the offense is so bad they can't get anything going. I'm still going to list OBJ as a start, just because I do think he can get that volume. Donovan Peoples-Jones had a big week 6. I just don't think it was sustainable. It was on 4 receptions, so a few big plays gets him a really nice stat line. Moving on to Sunday, we have the Panthers traveling to New York to take on the Giants. For this Panthers team, I'm trying to buy low on DJ Moore in almost every single one of my leagues. I love him moving forward. I think he's going to ball out this week, which is why he's a start. His teammate Robbie Anderson just hasn't shown enough to be a starter. He's been a very big disappointment. Someone who was supposed to be, a very safe volume receiver. He has been anything but that. So Robbie Anderson is a sit. On the Giants side, this is another team that has just been totally destroyed with injuries, especially at the wide receiver position. Sterling Shepard, it looks like he's really the only healthy guy right now, and he's the wide receiver 1 there in my opinion. So he is going to be a start. If Kadarius Toney is back and ready to go, I also think he could be a start. Kenny Golladay, I would not expect him to play in this game. I don't even know about Darius Slayton. He's missed at least 3 weeks. I don't really think it matters either. You wouldn't be starting him at all. Then we have a divisional matchup between the Jets and the Patriots. On this Jets team, I really think the only guy you can feel comfortable going with is Corey Davis. He is the clear number 1 there, which leaves Jamison Crowder and Elijah Moore as sits. For the Patriots, Jacoby Myers is just a very safe option. I do think the Patriots are going to put up a fair amount of points in this game. Maybe Jacoby Myers can finally break his curse and get into the end zone, but we will see. Kendrick Bourne had a huge play against the Cowboys, but that was his lone reception on the game. So without any volume, I just don't want to trust him on a consistent basis. We've got some stud wide receivers in this next game here between the Chiefs and the Titans. For the Chiefs, no-brainer, Tyreek Hill locked in starter, sitting Mecole Hardman. I just don't trust any of the guys behind Hill. For this Titans team, A.J. Brown is a start. Really everything that could go wrong has gone wrong for A.J. Brown to start off the season. He's dealing with a hamstring injury. Then it looks like he's finally ready to be fully back on Monday Night Football. Then he gets food poisoning. Still ended up playing really well. And Julio Jones ended up being ruled out for the game with a hamstring injury. He's been dealing with that. So I don't know if he's going to be ready to go come Sunday, which is why he is not on this list. But whether or not Julio Jones is in the lineup, I'm going to be starting A.J. Brown. Then we have the Washington football team taking on the Packers. And both of these teams are really built around one stud wide receiver. And those are the only 2 players I'm going to be going with. Terry McLaurin for the Washington football team and Devontae Adams for the Packers. In this next game here between the Falcons and the Dolphins, it looks like Calvin Ridley is back to practice, which means he should be playing. Remember, he missed the game in London due to a personal issue. So if he's back and on the field, he is a starter. This Dolphins team, another one of these teams that has struggled with injuries at the wide receiver position. Right now, I only have Jalen Waddle here on this graphic. If he is kind of like the lone starting wide receiver, I think he's got to be in your lineup. He's performed much better with Tua on the field. If Devontae Parker is back, I think both of them could potentially be viable starters this week, but I would lean towards Waddle as the better option. Will Fuller's still on IR, so he is not going to be available. In this next game, we see the Bengals traveling to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. For the Bengals side, Jamar Chase locked in start for the rest of the season. I do have T. Higgins here. He has been a little bit disappointing to start off the season, but I still think he can turn it around here. Tyler Boyd is kind of just the odd man out in this offense, and he is going to be a sit. For the Ravens, I'm going to be starting Marquise Brown. I do think there's a chance Rashad Bateman kind of starts to eat into his workload, but as of right now, he is still the wide receiver 1 and deserves to be a startable player. I'm going to be sitting Rashad Bateman, but really interested to see what he can do in the future. Then it's going to be the Lions traveling to Los Angeles to take on the Rams. I'm not interested in anyone from this Lions wide receiver core. Basically, the top 2 pass catchers are DeAndre Swift and TJ Hockenson. Jared Goff has just not performed well. He doesn't have a lot to work with, if we're being honest. Even Dan Campbell kind of came out and called him out a little bit. So I just do not trust Amon-Ra, Khalif Raymond, or Tyrell Williams, who may be back from IR this week. We just don't know. On the Rams side, Cooper Kupp, potential wide receiver 1 for the rest of the season. He has had that kind of impact. Robert Woods had a big week 5. I actually recommended selling high on him after that game because I just didn't know if it was sustainable. It seemed like everyone had kind of shifted their perception to Robert Woods is totally back. I think we saw here in week 6, Cooper Kupp is still that guy, and Robert Woods is the clear number 2, but I still think he's starter worthy. Then it's the Eagles traveling to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. This Eagles offense is kind of hard to watch at times. Only being able to pass for a little over 100 yards on that Buccaneers secondary, which was missing Antoine Winfield, Sean Murphy-Bunting, Carlton Davis, and Richard Sherman. That is not good. I'm still going to roll here with Devonta Smith. I think he's the number 1 option on this team, and that means I'm going to be sitting Quez Watkins and Jalen Reagor. For the Raiders, Hunter Renfrow really had his first down game all year. I still think he's going to bounce back. He's the safest option on a week-to-week basis, and I like this matchup here with the Eagles. They've kind of let teams, work their way down the field slowly, which means Hunter Renfrow could see a lot of targets. I'm going to be sitting Henry Ruggs and Bryan Edwards. They're just not consistent enough to be solid fantasy plays, and I don't think this is a good matchup. We saw how the Eagles were able to take away the big plays from the Buccaneers. They're likely going to try to do the same thing against the Raiders. Next up, it's the Texans taking on the Cardinals. For this Texans team, Brandon Cooks is really the only viable player on this offense who should be in lineups, and I think he is a very solid start. For the Cardinals, I'm actually going to be rolling with 3 of these guys as starts. DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk, and AJ Green all have had some big games, and I think are all starter worthy. I'm going to be sitting Rondale Moore. I really like the player. I think he's going to have a bright future. Just hasn't seen enough opportunities or snap share to start off this season. Then it's the Bears traveling to Tampa to take on the Buccaneers. And even though this is a solid matchup for the Bears against that Bucs secondary, I'm still going to be sitting Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney. I just haven't seen enough from this passing game as a whole to truly buy into them, in a favorable matchup. I honestly think this game could get really rough for the Bears. They've kind of been able to survive based on the run game. If the Bucs can take that away and really make Justin Fields rely on his arm, I just don't know if he's there yet. I still think he's going to be a really solid NFL quarterback, but I just think this is a tough matchup this week here against the Bucs. For the Bucs, you're starting all 3 of these guys every single week: Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin. Then on Sunday Night Football, it is the Colts taking on the 49ers. I'm really not interested in starting any of these Colts wide receivers. With T.Y. Hilton back, it's just kind of muddied this wide receiver room. Michael Pittman was kind of the guy, but he was getting it done through volume, not touchdowns or big plays. So now that you have Hilton back, just eating into that target share a little bit, they're going to be feeding Jonathan Taylor as the number 1 weapon, and this offense as a whole plays it pretty safe. So I just don't really want to be starting any of these guys. For the 49ers, you're rolling with Deebo Samuel, the clear wide receiver 1 on this team, and Brandon Ayuk is a sit. Really just has not broken out yet. I'm kind of losing faith that it's going to happen. Pretty crazy how someone can go from a really nice rookie season to just being non-existent in his sophomore year. but that's what has happened here with Ayuk. And then we have our final matchup of the week on Monday Night Football, Saints traveling to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. For the Saints team, I'm going to be starting Marquez Callaway. With all the injuries to the Saints wide receiver core, the Seahawks secondary has not been great. I think this could be a solid week for Callaway to put up some decent numbers. We know he has that big playability, but if he can add some volume to that, this could be a really nice week for him. On the Seahawks side, I know they didn't look great here in week 6. The passing game was definitely lacking some explosion, but I'm still going to list DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett as starts. DK Metcalf is probably like a low-end wide receiver 2. Lockett's honestly more of a wide receiver 3 moving forward, but still someone who I think is startable. But that is going to wrap it up for the week 7 wide receiver start sits. If you guys enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, ask me any questions down below. I'll be responding to every single person. If you want to see more videos like this, go check out my running back start sits. I'm going to be going through the tight ends and quarterbacks tomorrow. But thank you guys for stopping by, and I'll see you next time.